Welcome to Adding Fuel to the Hire, a podcast for hiring managers and job seekers across all types of dealerships. With over 20 years collective recruitment experience, Rowan, Tony and Phil draw upon their knowledge to help you navigate through the recruitment and job hunt process. For more information, head to our website, addingfueltothehire.com. Welcome to Adding Fuel to the Hire. My name's Rowan Coe, and this week I've got Tony Flynn with me. How you going, Tony?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Today we're going to talk about hiring fast, fire slow, or hire slow, fire fast. It's a lot of words there.
Yep.
Why don't you clarify what we mean? Let's start with hire fast, fire slow. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, so both are relatively famous sayings within, I suppose, just the recruitment industry or employment chat in general. So hire fast, fire slow, as the word suggests, it's the concept of if you are going through the recruitment process, you've got a good candidate, you really like them, your gut instinct's good, just jump on them, offer them the job, trust your gut, your opposition's going to be trying to get them as well. Don't waste any time, secure them as quickly as you can. And then the flip side of that is fire slow. So if you've got problems with employees, it's ensuring that you've done everything you possibly can to justify their position. So we've trained them properly. We've given them all the skills to succeed. They're still not succeeding. We've tried everything. We've gone through the right processes and they're still not working out. Okay, we've tried everything. We've exhausted our options. Now we can let them go. So not just, you hear people all the time, and we'll talk about it in a second with fire fast, but that concept, it's the opposite of the concept of, as soon as you get that gut feel that they're not right, just let them go really quickly. Don't waste any time. So it's the opposite of that, making sure that you give them all the time in the world and,
So getting them in the door quickly and then training them, giving them all the support they need to get the job, to succeed in the position.
Yeah, exactly. And then the flip side of that is hire slow, fire fast. So that's the concept of dragging out the recruitment process for as long as we can, not unnecessarily, but making sure we're doing psychometric assessments, making sure that we're doing multiple interviews, we're, testing them in other ways, everything you possibly can, so that at the end of that process, you are 100% certain that all the boxes have been ticked and this is the right person. The downsides of that obviously is that your competitors, if they are going with the hire fast method, will take the good candidates before they come. So that's the downside of that. And then fire fast is the mentality we just touched on. As soon as you've got an inkling that they're not the right candidate, not the right employee, well, we're not going to take any risks. We don't want them to suck the life out of the business. We're going to get rid of them straight away. So that's the two competing mentalities. We'll delve into each of them just quickly to go over them in a little bit more detail, but I suppose that's a bit of background as to what they are. But yeah, as I said, we'll talk about hire fast, fire slow first. So that's all about trusting your gut throughout the recruitment process. It's the ability to secure talent quickly before they lose interest, before your competitors grab them before you. Just removing any room for error throughout that process and just doing it as quickly as possible.
Yep. And like you said, I think the best result from that strategy is being able to secure those people quickly because, a lot of people in the market will just trust their gut because they don't have a full HR department there that can provide all of that screening and onboarding assistance. So a lot of those people will just go with their gut and hire people. So those good people may end up getting taken by somebody else. So I guess, that is probably the biggest positive out of hiring fast is being able to secure those good people without competition or beating your competitors to it. Yeah,
exactly. And then downsides of hiring fast are the fact that, things could come up throughout that employee's tenure with you, and then you realize we probably could have found this out had we taken a little bit more time. So it's definitely not the perfect method. That is the downside of it, is that you do miss out on potentially finding things out or uncovering things about candidates that you would have ordinarily found out if you had a little bit more time up your sleeve. So that's the downside of it. And then firing slow, as we touched on, it's about performance management. It's about giving employees every possible chance to succeed in their role. All too often, employees are given no training, no background, nothing, and then when they don't perform well, it's their fault, which it's not, because they can only perform at the level that they've been given the tools to do. So making sure they feel valued, invested in, you know, invested is probably the word, making sure that they feel like they have a lot to give and they can give things to the business without, fear of persecution or, am I going to be judged for giving this opinion or doing this act? It's that really making sure they buy into the culture.
Yeah.
And then I suppose the downside of that is if you're going through and you're giving them every chance to succeed, it's possible that
it can be expensive as well from a time basis.
Exactly. You've
inefficient.
You've got hiring managers, or you've got their line managers are dedicating a lot of time. People are, I suppose, picking up their slack throughout the process. But also, it's the fact that often, if you're giving them every chance to succeed and you're really invested in making sure it works, it can have the other result that you almost start making excuses for them because you are really invested in this whole firing slow mentality that you don't want to do it unless you have to. And then, sometimes you can find maybe we held on to them for 2 or 3 months too long because we were looking for reasons to make sure that they had a chance to succeed, and we made excuses for them. So often firing slow can look more painful in hindsight, because often you'll see, we did go 1 or 2 months early. But the other flip side of that is the employee could turn around. They turn into a good employee and you go, man, I'm so glad we took that extra month with them because now they're great and we got 4 or 5 years out of them. So
yeah, or maybe that you identified a different position that they could be more suited to within the organisation. So you've still retained that person, but moved them into a different role within the organisation. So if you fire fast, you're not going to have that opportunity, and you'll miss that chance, and because you'll get rid of them at the first sign of not being able to do the job that they were hired to do.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably a good summary of hire fast, fire slow, and the pros and cons of it. But what about hire slow, fire fast? So we touched on it before, but what's the obvious pros and cons of hiring slow?
Well, I think, like we said, we did touch on it, that you spend every possible moment vetting the candidate that you're looking to employ.
Yeah.
So you put them through the psychometric testing, you do all the background checks and reference checks. You do everything you can to make sure that this person is going to be right for the role. And that may take a long time, but you are probably more likely to find the perfect fit for that job if you spend all that time making sure they tick all the boxes, or at least, most of the boxes. So,
yeah,
it's definitely there's positives to it. But I think, the time taken in doing that is certainly a downside to it.
Exactly. And as you take more time, generally speaking, your pool of people could shrink. Because your competitors have taken them or they've pulled out of the process. If you do take your time and there's not good communication levels throughout, then it can be seen as the business doesn't have their processes together, so I don't want to join them. So you might get the right fit out of, or you might pick the best person out of the pool that was remaining, but that pool of people might be smaller than it ordinarily was at the start of the process.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something to think about. But yeah, and then you got fire fast. I suppose the first premise of this discussion is the fact that you still have to follow the correct protocols. It's not just as simple as the American mantra of just firing people and having no excuse. You do still have to follow the laws and go through it. But it's that mentality of, we don't want to take a risk. 2 months of this person having extra chances could be 2 months too much.
Yep.
They could, corrupt other employees. They could suck the culture out of the business. We just want to get rid of them as quickly as we can, get a fresh start and move on.
Yeah. And I guess they've spent that time as well at the start of the process, and they know all the weaknesses and strengths, and know that perhaps there's not another position within the organisation that they would fit. So being able to, then just quickly move on is, that particular strategy of being able to fire fast.
Yeah, and besides the obvious negative of that being I suppose going fast does give the potential of more legal issues down the track if you don't follow it to the letter of the law. But there's other issues that people probably don't think of as much, and that's when you have a high turnover, which you will have a higher turnover in that situation, because if you have a doubt, you're just going to get rid of them as quickly as you can. it gives a high turnover throughout the industry. And in industries like ours, people will talk, people will chat. And then if your business, for whatever reason, is perceived to have a high turnover, people aren't going to want to join you or work for your business. The rumors will be out there and people will be like, well, are they going to flick me after 3 months because I didn't pick up their new DMS quickly?
Yeah.
It gets around. And not only that, but your staff internally will be, walking around on eggshells, fearing, am I next if I do the wrong thing? Culturally, it can really suck the life out of your business. I think, by investing in people and giving them every chance to succeed, you will get more buy-in from the employees that are otherwise there. But flicking them quickly can give that perception of you're just another number to us.
Yeah.
And, we don't really care whether you succeed or not. We'll just get rid of you.
Yeah.
So what's the solution? It's probably pretty clear already from our thoughts. There's no one size fits all. So I think my first thought on this is those LinkedIn gurus that proclaim, it's hire fast, fire slow, it's, quick and out, whatever. There is no one size fits all. There is no perfect solution. But what about your gut instinct, Ro? When it comes to hiring, what do you prefer or what would you encourage your clients to do throughout your career?
Well, at the risk of sounding boring and not having a catchy line like hire fast, fire slow, maybe hire medium, fire medium. I don't really know how else to explain it, but I guess, finding the middle ground in both options.
Yep.
And I know that's not a sexy title or anything like that, but
don't think it'll go viral.
No, probably not. But I guess, spending just a little bit of extra time at the start of the process to say, well, has this person got some potential, outside of this role? Maybe they've got some other skills that they could bring to the table as well. What else can they offer? And then at the end of the process, if they're not working in that role, maybe trying to find them something else within the organization or spending a bit of time with them to learn a little bit more about, where their skills may lie. Why aren't they fitting in this role? Is it a lack of training? Oh, okay, well, we'll give them that training. I think it's a healthy balance of both of those methods.
Yeah, and I think particularly with hiring, there's definitely pros and cons to both. And so it's about getting your process and understanding what that is. What are all the boxes we need to tick, whether that is psychometric assessments, multiple interviews, whatever that looks like, understanding what your process is throughout the hiring process. And then how do we get through that process as fast as we can? That way you're getting the benefits of, I suppose, a tedious process that with all the checks and balances and making sure that you've got the right candidate. But at the same time, you're doing it as quickly as you can. There's less opportunity for your opposition to take those employees. So it is about hiring fast, but it doesn't mean that you have to just have one interview, offer the candidate based on gut feel. It purely means get your process sorted, make sure everyone is on the same page. All right, our interviews are going to be on this day. We want to have a second interview within 3 days, psychometric assessment on the 4th day, offered by the 5th day.
Yeah.
And make sure that everyone in the business is invested in that method and do it as quickly as possible. And I think that's the solution, particularly for hiring. I think firing medium is definitely the best way to explain it, but there's no one size fits all. There's just times that immediately that candidate is never, or that employee is never going to be a cultural fit, something really obvious at the start. And that's when you just want to get rid of them as quickly and as legally as you can straight away. But there are other times where you do really need to sit there and think, well, have we given this person every chance to succeed? Are we to blame for something? All too often, I think we see or hear about candidates being let go by a company, and they talk about, well, I wasn't trained properly. I didn't understand the product. I didn't understand this. So you really do have to look internally as a company and go, have we given them every chance to succeed?
Yeah.
And if we haven't, we have to put our hand up and say, well, we're to blame. How can we get them to the level we need them at?
Yeah.
But you're right. It's definitely not sexy. Hire medium, fire medium. But I think the take-home message is with the hiring process as a whole, just do your process as thoroughly but as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
That's definitely the key.
Yeah, you want to get those good people, and I think that is the best option for most employers, is to just find the middle ground between those two slogans.
that's it. But I'm sure it won't take off. It will not be a LinkedIn post that trends anytime soon, but it's definitely the better option. But yeah, I think internally, just for both hiring and firing, is you just talk to HR, talk to the senior managers, find out what the process is, get everyone on the same page, and stick to it no matter what.
Definitely.
But so that's everything for this one. Nice and short, quick one, which we thought it probably would be. But if you have any thoughts or topics that you want us to discuss, please shoot them through. There'll be a link in the show notes below. But otherwise, thank you for listening. We'll be back again next week.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to another episode of Adding Fuel to the Hire. If you have any questions or you'd like to hear us talk about a particular topic, why not send us an email at podcast@addingfueltothehire.com. If you like what we do and would like to support our podcast, please leave a review on your podcasting app of choice. For further information, please visit our website, addingfueltothehire.com.